Welcome to Beyond the Awards, a podcast from the British Wedding Film Festival. This is where we have honest conversations with filmmakers shaping wedding cinema, nominees, winners, and industry voices. I'm Joss.
And I'm Jeff, and as co-founders with Laura and Pete of the British Wedding Film Festival, we're excited to bring these conversations to you.
For this episode of Beyond the Awards, we're joined by Mike from MAC Videography, winner of Best UK Wedding Film at this year's festival. Mike's work was also nominated for Best Cinematography and Best Destination Wedding Film.
His films stand out for their cinematic feel, particularly through the use of sound design and atmosphere. Today we're talking about how sound shapes storytelling, how cinematic techniques can elevate a wedding film, and what it takes to create an immersive experience for the viewer. Mike, welcome. Mike, welcome to the pod.
Thank
Lovely
you.
To see you.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, guys. Always a pleasure. Obviously been looking forward to catching up after the awards. It's quite an overwhelming feeling of winning. What was the award I won?
Best
You
UK
only
wedding
want
film.
Best UK Film. Yeah.
That's it. I've got it here, so it's just right in front of me. So it's heavy. This thing, you could kill somebody.
That's
with
a big category, that, isn't it?
You know what? When I saw the nominations come up and I saw my name come up for that, and I was like, I'm never winning this. There's so many good filmmakers in the room here, and we kind of have that thing. Is that you're surrounded by so many talented people? It's like, am I? And then just to have my name read out is just I was very happy. So let's put it
But
that
also,
way.
Mike, you didn't enter this particular film into that category, did you?
I don't think I did. No, I think I entered this particular film in for cinematography. Actually,
That's it. We moved your film into Best UK Film.
Yeah. Threw me a little bit, but I know that you had said at the beginning of the evening that you're moving people around. And obviously, that was the kind of consensus of the awards anyway. That if you felt that best served different categories, and of course, absolutely. But no, I'm grateful for that. Absolutely, it's good to be honoured in that kind of way and recognised for that. And like you said, Jeff, it was quite a big category, and to win amongst so many great talented filmmakers that entered. So yeah.
So forgive me, but I don't think we managed to meet, did we, at the event?
We had a brief exchange. Unfortunately, I had to leave very early because my wife and I, we became parents again for the third time.
Congrats!
So thank you. Yeah, that was a Christmas
Mike,
Eve
actually,
baby.
What was the most exciting news? Winning Best UK Film or having a baby?
Oh, don't put me in that
Don't answer
position. The wife's not here, so it's all good.
I think I remember now. I think I remember you had to dart. Yeah, I think I was a few wines in by that point, so it's gone out of my mind.
I don't drink too much nowadays anyway, but when I do have the opportunity to, I could have probably let loose. I wish I did, but yeah, I'm sure you guys know you got children yourselves, right? So if you come home with a hangover, is especially the older you get, the metabolism doesn't kind of work so well to kind of get rid of it. And, the hangover lasts for 3 days as opposed to one. But no, I had to dart off. I had to catch a 5 a.m. train the next morning back to London. So it was
That's fair enough.
That's
a good excuse. It was great because there's so many things I loved about the festival, but one of the main ones that I keep coming back to is there's so many people that I chat to on Instagram. We see their work. You hear of them. Obviously, your name has been on the radar on the UK scene for some time now, anyway. But the festival gave us the opportunity to get together and actually meet in person. That's the way I kind of looked at it. It was great to kind of see. Actually, it's not about putting name to faces because we know what people look like, but just to actually chat in the flesh, with somebody. And you were one of those guys. It was great.
Yeah, it was so good. I mean, I was a late addition to coming to the awards because initially I entered, and then obviously with the whole baby thing, I wasn't supposed to go. But then, in the back of my mind, and the wife was like saying, right, okay, just go for the night. Just, because you don't get out much anyway. And obviously being a dad of three, I'm bored. I'm a boring person. I'm either looking after kids, attending to the wife, or I'm sat behind this screen. And yeah, I think you rightly put it, actually. When you go to events like this, you really appreciate there is, you have these connections with people online, but to see them face to face is so much better, of course. And when you have events like the British Film Awards, it was so good to catch up with faces, and and just to generally just be there. Even if I came away with no awards, I appreciate the evening so much just to kind of get out there and as I said, chat to loads of filmmakers. And to be honest, just to chat about gear and equipment and weddings and videography, I mean, I can't do that with my wife. So every time I talk about, oh, look at this piece of equipment or this bit of gear, she just switches off. So it's nice to be able to let loose for an evening.
Yeah, nice. Congrats.
Before we crack on, have you prepared your 2 truths and a lie for us? Because obviously that's something that we like to do.
Do you know what?
A little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I had to really think about this because it was one of those questions like, oh, what do I say? Like, what do I pick? I've come up with 3. It might be obvious to which one might be a lie and what the truths are. But so here are the 3. Once upon a time in my life, I was a nightclub DJ. That's number 1. Number 2, I film using Sony cameras.
Liar.
And sorry for those Panasonic ones out there, Lumix camera people. But yeah. And number 3, my wife nearly left me because of my job.
Wow.
Oh
wow,
3,
that's
definitely true.
Jeff and I will play detectives throughout the pod and get the answers at the end, Mike. Before we get to the end, let's start at the very beginning. Your journey into wedding filmmaking. How did it all start? How did you get into it?
So back end of 2018, really, I kind of took the plunge to dabble into weddings, and it come off the back of my own wedding, and so many other filmmakers that I know have done this as well, where they didn't bother having a videographer. I was on a bit of a tight budget. I mean, to be honest, and I joke about this every time I speak to couples. I'm glad you're investing into wedding videography because, once upon a time when I got married to my wife, I was the tight ass of the relationship and I didn't bother having one. I settled for a £200 photo booth instead, and even they managed to mess it up. So it's, we came away with the wedding with just a nice photo album, and that's kind of sad, really. And we're celebrating our 10-year anniversary this year. And to be able to get to 10 years and now look back at our wedding, it's like, I really wish that we could relive the moment, and then that's, coming from a bloke, I guess, it's just the amount of wedding fairs I've done in the past where blokes have just been, they don't really care about this kind of stuff, where the women are all for it. And I get it now, 100%. So 2018 came along and I thought, you know what, I've always had that kind of creativity behind me. I did a lot of it sort of growing up, and I always used to nick my dad's cameras, something similar to this, back in the day, and I just had a general interest in it. And and I kind of made my first movie, and I'm embarrassed to say this. It was really bad, but the creativity was there. It had lots of swearing, and basically, cut a long story short, my mate just passed the driving test. We went off to France for the day in his clapped out Peugeot 106, whatever it was. And I thought, do you know what? I'll take a camera and I'll document the whole thing. And I made a little movie out of it. And that's kind of where it I used Sony Vegas back then as well. I don't even know whether that editing software still exists, but to edit on that thing was a bit of a challenge in itself. But, I pieced it all together and I was really kind of, you know what? I'm really happy with that. And put it out on Facebook or Bebo back at the time. I can't remember what. And yeah, can you remember that? Yeah.
That's old school, yeah.
Yeah, Bebo, MySpace. And do you know what? It gained a little bit of traction, and some people are like, Mike, you're good at this. So I just kind of took it up to the next kind of step, really. And creativity has always kind of been in the blood, so to speak, and kind of grabbed the bull by the horns and kind of went with it, really. And then, as probably most of us all started, we ended up doing a friend's wedding or did a wedding for free for somebody we didn't know. And, I started using a Canon 70D that shot in 1080, and it was really poor in low light. And after I shot that wedding for my friend, I probably spent more hours on YouTube trying to research how to get noise out of the image than I did actually filming and editing the thing. But so yeah, that's kind of the backstory, really. Just kind of learning from the pains of my own wedding, of not having one, and kind of then, move that message on to prospective couples who are getting married, that they should really go for it.
What was your inspiration when you started? Because obviously your style, we'll talk about your style throughout the podcast. It's very distinctive. What was the inspiration? I assume you didn't start with this particular approach, this very like filmic, cinematic, loads of sound, drops, that kind of thing. What was it at the very beginning, and how did you get into what it is now?
Yeah, so I watch a lot of films and how they were made. And when I first started, when I was looking towards inspiration, I didn't really see anything that kind of hit home or stood out to me. And I always knew that, because I come from a marketing background anyway, I always knew that to be kind of successful, or at least be kind of seen, you kind of have to make something that stands out. And I wanted to be that guy. So yeah, I put a lot of effort and time into, learning the ropes about, how we kind of use audio and how to make things visually appealing, but also have that kind of very nice balance between artistry, realism, and the audio side of things, to then create this beautiful story that, the couples can then watch back in years to come and still equally relate to in years to come than they were in the moment, so to speak. So yeah, it's kind of finely tuning over time how I did that. And obviously we all started with all the crap gear, and I didn't immediately go out and spend thousands of pounds. I mean, don't get me wrong, I did spend a fair chunk to get the right gear, but I didn't go for the top end gear that I didn't know how to use. So from the first wedding I did, as I alluded to earlier, I started using the Canon 70D, which, that camera came out in 2013 and it shot 1080p. I mean, in low light, it was disastrous. But when I did that wedding, what helped me was that I came away learning quite a lot from it. And also, I just remember one time in bridal prep in that particular wedding that I did, the first one I ever did, is that I turned up with a slider with 2 tripods just to get a dolly shot of the dress. And I mean, probably the bridesmaids were thinking, "What not? What's he doing? What's he doing with all this equipment?" And it took me an age to set up as well. So I very quickly learned that equipment wasn't, doing all this and that didn't really, just to get that few seconds of shot. It was quite, So I very quickly learned that. And and as I say, over time, things just kind of evolved, and learned how to do new things just by learning online and taking inspiration from what others are doing, and just curating it into my own pathway. So yeah,
let's talk about your winning film. It was I remember, I'll be dead honest now, I remember at one point watching it and thinking, this guy puts way more work in than I do. The amount of creativity, the amount of transitions and attention to sound design and attention to, there's a lot of work went into that. So that was
very polished, very polished.
Yeah, it's probably one of my most polished pieces creatively. And most couples don't really probably would see that and go, that's too much for us. At the best of times, most couples don't like the whole kind of PDA and all of that. So, but this particular couple, the reason why I entered this film, in particular for cinematography, is because the way this film was pieced together. Like I said, my approach to all of this is all about the couple. This is not about what I see fit personally. This is for me to basically, as I alluded to earlier, for them to watch in years to come and resonate with it. That's them, their personalities. And, you could watch that film and then you can watch another production of mine, and it'll be completely different. And I guess as a
On
filmmaker,
that note, actually, you submitted different films to the festival, and two of those films were shot at the same venue,
that's
that
right.
venue, and it's like they are completely different films, completely different weddings. So I can relate to what you just said.
Yeah, no, 100%. And and I think that's quite important to be, for mentally anyway. When you do this job, what you don't want to end up doing is be stagnant and doing the same things over and over again. It is all about kind of sometimes pushing the boundaries and knowing where to push those boundaries to which particular couple. Now, I'll explain a little bit more about the one that I won the award with. And, when they first contacted me, I instantly knew that this was a couple that they had a desire to be creative, and knowing the aesthetic they were going for, and also knowing what their backgrounds are, which is also equally helpful. Now, Sean and Mung, they work in the fashion industry, not just any fashion. We're talking London, Paris fashion weeks. They get involved with all of that kind of weird and wonderful stuff that goes on there. So I instantly knew that they wanted something quite dramatic, aesthetically pleasing, and the kind of the what they wanted to kind of bring across onto the film, and deliver. So, I mean, she's also a big influencer online. So she wanted something obviously to please her fans, in the Chinese world, that is, and it was all about the dress, most of it. She wore this.
I mean, that dress, my goodness,
Yeah.
with the hat, so iconic.
Yeah, it was the dress was a major thing. It was one of three things that kind of helped me piece together this film. So the dress was it was like forgive me, I don't do dresses. I don't know what. They look nice and whatnot. So I don't get into the kind of the technicals about dresses and stuff. But this one was particular, and they explained it to me. It's like some kind of 1970s vintage piece that basically flew it out from Paris. And I mean, the cost of this thing, it was quite a staggering amount of money. But they flew three fitters over from Paris as well. This is how kind of, to the extent it was. Yeah, it was quite.
I hope you charged enough.
Yeah, I did okay. I did okay. But I knew from that point that yes, and then, if I was to be honest, from the initial inquiry, let's just say, and forgive me, Sean and Mung, if you're going to listen to this, it had all the telltale signs of being one of those red flag clients. It had just enough questioning about certain things that made me think, I'm not sure if you were my right client. Anyway, I just kind of, do you know what? Rather than me just kind of binning in it completely, or just having that egotistic approach, I wanted to see more about what it was about, because I wanted to kind of, again, have the opportunity to kind of push the boundaries, based on the initial inquiry about how creatively they kind of want to take things. So yeah, I mean, I had a chat with them, I kind of understood the brief when I spoke to them. They were very, very lovely, and went up there, and it was just wonderful to obviously see it all kind of unfold. And it was great to do something a little bit more different and more along those lines. And yeah, like I said, it was a very polished production.
How involved were they with? Because a lot of those shots we can tell they're like set up, and there's a lot of sequences. I can tell there's some shots you've taken from earlier part of the day, that kind of thing. How involved were they with the idea of it being, I'm going to say, like a bit scripted in some parts? You know what I mean? How were they like? Was it like a collaboration? Like, yeah, this is cool. This is going to work.
Yeah, they had a vision. They sent me over a clip of there was this one clip that they sent me, and I think it was just kind of either show off the dress or just one particular shot that they loved in this Disney Plus production. Christabel something, I don't know, some designer in Paris. There was a Disney Plus drama made out of it. Anyway, there was a particular shot they wanted to show me, and it was the shot of her looking up as it was shot from above, and that featured in right at the beginning of that film, actually. So we made that happen, and I think by them sharing that with me, it was kind of everything I needed to know. Now, they didn't really specifically say, we want this, we want that. It was kind of then, it was all about questioning. It was all about kind of me going, how far do you want to take this? I can be a fly on the wall, or I can be super creative. And they were just like, Mike, just do how you would like it to be done. Obviously, we have this vision, we've got all this going on, we've got this wonderful dress, we just kind of want it documented in the way that's going to look really, out there, to the fans and all of that. I'm like, okay. So yeah, a lot of basically what you see has been kind of set up by myself, and orchestrated in that way. But yeah.
And is that your usual style? Or was it kind of forced on you? And
No, it isn't. If I'm being perfectly honest with you, I've been trying for the last at least a few years, trying to not kind of hone in on a specific style or make myself known for a specific wedding type or specific couple that I'm looking for. And in a way, I'm quite proud of knowing that I can be creatively versatile. And like I said, it keeps the creative juices flowing. So like I said, I could be doing weddings at Hawkstone Hall where Sean Among's film was filmed and have, orchestrated shots and whatnot. Or I could be in a field somewhere, complete rave, everybody's off their tits, and, it's a different kind of film. So for me, to be able to do the different styles and work from one end of the spectrum to the other is great. It really is. So yeah, I don't really hone in on a specific style.
Okay, but having done a more directed style, a more directed film like that, has that made you more tempted to persuade couples to do that style, or are you just completely open to what they want? Or do you prefer the documentary style?
Oh, do you know what? Like Josh said earlier about the two different films from exactly the same venue. I think there's more pressure when you have to orchestrate shots. So I'll give you a perfect example with the Sean Among's film, the Chinese one. I was up until 2 a.m. in the morning shooting that film, and we did all those sequences of them on their own, doing their first dance. Basically, once the band was finished and everybody went, we got them in the ballroom. So, because I wasn't entirely satisfied 100% of what I got, or the variety of stuff I got with the couples things. And I think in some respect, you have to kind of really kind of think on your feet, because you can have all these grand ideas in the back of your head, but if, say, the timing doesn't allow on the day, you get stressed out, and you kind of have to kind of think more about that. But as time has kind of gone on, it's it's important for couples to have a documentary of their day that's told in their way. So that's I think, coming back to the answer to your question, I like doing both. It's very, very weird. I can't really put a pin on what I prefer, So it's yeah. But like you watch the other Hawkstone Hall video that I did for the Griggs wedding, Harriet and Sam. That had so much going on in the day anyway. It didn't really need too much in the way of couple stuff. We had live music. We had one of their guests come up and singing, and they had a brass band. They had all sorts of stuff going on that it didn't really warrant to really push the boundaries on that. And to be honest, knowing the couple, they didn't really want too much of the whole kind of kissy because the last thing, and I'm joking about this with my couples sometimes, that's if I'm going to make a wedding video for you, the last thing that you want to be showing your kids in years to come, and when you're a little bit older, of you kissing and cuddling every 5 seconds, you just want to vomit, don't you? So it's like you want an accurate kind of. It's about the guests as well. It's not all about the couple. It's a weird thing to say, but it truly isn't. It's about the people that they've invited, and and all of that. So yeah.
When you put it like this, it does sound a bit cringe, doesn't it? To because a big part of the films we produce is like, of course, it's for the couple, but like, why do they want a wedding film? It's for them to remember how the day was and show people. And if it's just a collection of shots of them hugging and kissing, it's like, oh, like you need those shots, but they kind of need to be placed. There has to be some intention behind it, because otherwise it's weird. It's just a couple shoot, and it's like that's
So
not really the day.
one thing you probably noticed about Sean Among, there is a lot of couple stuff there, but there isn't much in the way of them kind of kissing and stuff like that. Like, it is a lot of motion.
And it's also back to your point. I think clearly this film feels very them. That is who they are. Like, I think it shows. It's all about the spectacle, and I think it shows, and it's less about the intimacy of a small celebration or them being with their guests, because there's few shots of that. It is very much about the grandeur of the venue. It's a UK venue for a Chinese couple. This firework, he's wearing a different suit, which never happens for grooms. Like, brides change outfits for evening do. The groom never does that, but he's wearing a different suit. Like, it's clearly about the production value they got from it, rather than it being like but it's like, it feels like exactly what they wanted, clearly,
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think every part that day did get like it, because that's obviously their short film. They do actually also have a longer film that goes with that. But with that, it really encompassed absolutely everything that went on the day. And as I said, there's three things that I made really kind of stand out in that film. Was the dress, the first dance, and the fireworks. The fireworks added the dramatics to obviously the music, and the music was specifically chosen as well because, with it being a Chinese couple, obviously it had the dramatic sound and the feel to the music, but it also had that kind of like those Chinese kind of vibe to it. If you listen carefully at the beginning and the end of it, it's kind of.
I've used that song in a different film. It's got I don't know if it's a triangle or something being played.
I think so. Yeah, but it's when I first heard that, I was like, yes, that really works for them. And obviously with the whole dramatic, and obviously the fireworks were just stunning. Shout out to whoever the fireworks supplier is. They tagged on my Instagram, but yeah, they did an amazing job. And obviously the first dance.
On that, like, because that's another topic I want to cover with you, which is your sound design. Like, it's one thing to have fireworks at a wedding, but you've matched the visuals with what we can hear, and there's a drop, and there's you've added some other sound effects. So it's like, it's the music, it's the visuals, it's the sound design that you're using. Really clever. Like, how did you? And that's quite consistent across all of your films. The idea of like using sound in specific places. How do you come up with that stuff?
Yeah, sure. So, sound is, as we all know, it's the glue that makes it all happen. Without sound, it's just pretty visuals and it has no feeling to it. So I purposely invest a lot of time into sound design and being creative with sound as well. So yeah, in that particular production, obviously you have to balance out the dynamics of how you use it as well, because you can't just slap a sound in there and then get away with it. I've heard so many productions, or seen so many productions where the Foley sound is clearly too loud. Like, for instance, you're flying a drone over and it's like 400 feet above the ground and you're sticking sound in of forest and trees. They're not going to hear forest and trees and birds squeaking from up there, not as loudly as do you know what I mean?
Exactly what you mean.
So it's having that really balanced, and even if that sound goes in very subtly, again, it's all about fine dynamics of how you use sound. As I said, I'm also, what really helps is I went to college and did sound engineering as well, so I kind of got sort of like the basis of how it all kind of works. And making it sound, how it sounds. But yeah, like, for instance, when the sound, like in Sean Among's film, when you get all the kind of the fluffy stuff kind of out of the way, and then bang, it goes into the fireworks with a big dynamic kind of like that, and then the sound picks up in the background, and then everything just gets a little bit more dynamic, and then you kind of really, really play on it. And obviously, if you want some kind of scene in your film to really, really stand out, you have to elevate that sound. Again, I use the example from the film, when you do that kind of sweeping shot and I was going behind the dry sparks, you hear that psst, fizz sound, and then it then cuts to another part. So it really kind of then elevates. And I think it is just about using the sound correctly for dynamics, and yeah, and using it well, basically. In a nutshell.
Mm-hmm. So that same film was nominated for cinematography.
Yeah.
And on, I know it's not directly related, but on that subject, I noticed that the color grading on it is different to your other nominated film. And I just wonder, at what stage in the process did you decide on that kind of look? Was it during the shoot? And did the clients have any input on that?
No, not really. So I think it just came down to the fact that if you look at the style that the couple were going for, then it was just kind of tuned to them, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's a little bit of a different color grade with that. But yeah, yeah, I can't really say much more beyond that.
It works. It does.
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
On the topic of sound design, Mike, so more broadly throughout your films, like how do you decide when like a moment is when it's fit for purpose, like that needs a drop, that needs something to really enhance or elevate that moment? Does that just come to you naturally, or do you have some kind of like, not templates, that sounds really wrong, but you see what I mean?
Yeah,
is there a secret formula to it, or it just comes to you?
I think it just comes to me, to be fair. There are, I intentionally listen out for sound bites from, maybe guests or maybe the couple, even to the point where, the groom's standing up there and you've mic'd him up before and you listen back and hopefully they don't slag you off, because I only really listen when the ceremony. I only really listen to the groom's mic, from the moment it all kind of starts. But sometimes I do kind of listen to the bit beforehand, and fingers crossed I don't sag you off. But there will
it's
be
done
times
very cleverly, because like even sorry to cut you off, because I'm just thinking, I feel like I want to say, because you might that might also give you some more inspiration. But on that film as well, there's a moment where they do the bride and groom reveal. And then we hear his like he kind of, he has this reaction. And again, that's probably either his or not, but that sound is prominent. It's like there's no music or it's very little, and we just hear like his reaction. It's like it's part of the experience, the visual and kind of everything experience you get with that film.
Yeah, I mean, it's good you picked up on that, and that's how I kind of use, a drop in the music and let the natural kind of take over. I'll give you a couple of other examples that, films that I've done in the past that I haven't, that wasn't put forward, or whatever. So there was, there was a particular moment where I filmed the wedding at, I think it's called Buckinghamshire Railway Centre. Anyway, the guy loved trains and he got married in the middle of a train station. But on the other side of the train station, they basically, instead of it being sort of like a brick wall, it's all glass panels. And then throughout the ceremony, they had a bird fly into this glass panel and it made this almighty thud. But unfortunately, the cameras didn't pick it up, or pick up the sound very well. So, and you kind of then, when they're watching back the ceremony, they have to think, why are they laughing? So I had to sort of like go back into the edit and kind of find something to enhance that thud with the bird smashing up against the glass. And it's a typical example when you know when to kind of enhance a film by using sound effects. Now, sound effects for me, I use quite sparingly, if I'm being perfectly honest. I use a lot of, Foley sound and make sure that's all balanced out right, etc. The only time I really use sound effects really is more or less in the trailer, because there's obviously a much more dynamic edit, and if you want to cut between scenes, etc., more or less like a trailer to a Hollywood blockbuster. It's and I kind of follow the same kind of path for that. So
I've got to ask, what visual did you add to kind of justify this thought?
Oh no, it wasn't a visual, so to speak. It was I was just enhancing the sound because the cameras didn't. Because obviously in the ceremony you have your kind of typical set, one camera in the back left, and the back camera managed to get that wide shot. And there's a tiny little speck of black just flying into the glass and then just falling down like this. But luckily, we're also, the groom um, uh, also made reference to it whilst they were getting married about the bird flying into the window, etc. And you just kind of make it a bit of a thing. And
I had something
yeah,
similar when there was a steam engine came rolling in, like
yeah,
halfway through the vows. So you hear this like, and at first, it's quite early on in my career, and at first I was thinking, oh my god, how am I going to fix this? Thinking I had to fix it, but I quickly realised after that all I need is some visuals of it. So I found out when the next steam train was coming and made sure I was down there to get some visuals of it so I could intercut that. And that was
Mhm.
a big moment of realizing that I'm there to make a film of what's happening, rather than
Mm.
some preconceived thing.
No, absolutely, and I think there is sometimes you can go too, and I have fallen foul of this, and I've learned pretty quickly actually, where you can take things maybe a little bit too much that escapes realism a little bit, and you kind of you're kind of creating something for you, if that makes sense. So there was, a trailer that I made for a couple, which was in an all right venue. But I look back at it now and go, Christ, why did I choose that music? It was so over dramatic, so over the top, and I from that moment I just went, we've got to pin it back a little bit, because at the end of the day we're not making Hollywood films. We're
Mm.
basically documenting somebody's wedding, and and I think sometimes we can be a little bit too, we go
Yeah,
too
if
much
you push
in
it
the other
too hard,
direction.
it's obviously, yeah, and if it's not right for the edit. That's what I like about yours though, because I know sound design is definitely something that I want to improve on.
Mm.
My films mostly all just use ambient captured on the day. Yours though, your sound design is very clever, and it doesn't feel forced, or it doesn't feel, even though sometimes it's fake, as in it's not the real sound, it feels right. So there's
Uh,
definitely some learnings I'm taking from, there's a lot of inspiration I took from the festival, but that's one of them. 100% sound
yeah.
design in your films is really clever.
I use um I use quite a bit of reverb as well. So if you're coming out of the ceremony, for example, you can hear them all clapping and cheering, and you move on to the next scene. Sometimes I stick a little bit of like a long-ended reverb on the end of it, just to kind of then move away to like a static shot of the venue or something like that. It's clever little things that you can do like that really kind of elevates it rather than just cutting it dead. Um,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah,
Just yeah,
do you
just
ever cut the music completely, and for an
I,
extended period of time?
I no, I have done. I have done. So I'll go give you. It's best to explain this in examples rather than me telling of people what to do. But there was a particular wedding that I shot at Goodwood House, and again, a lovely polished wedding, black ties, the lot. You couldn't really fault it, aesthetically pleasing. And if you know Goodwood House, it's a really stunning venue. But there was one particular moment that defined the whole film, because they were quite a fun couple anyway, but they just wanted to enjoy the day. They didn't want to do anything remotely close to what I did with Sean and Mark. So there was, yeah, that's a particular moment where basically in the first dance, the father of the bride got so drunk that when it come up to the father daddy daughter dance, he basically, his dance moves took him a little bit more sideways than he could handle, and let's just say he went arse over tit, and so did she. And it was great because at that moment you have to kind of then judge it. It's like, right, is she going to get up? Is she going to look pissed off, or is she going to be happy about it? And when she got up, laughing, smiling, carried on, um, that's when you know that that bit needs to go in the film. So coming back to your what you said, Jeff, about cutting the music completely, there is a part where basically the in the speeches the dad had actually made a comment about, you have to see my dance moves later when I've had a bit to drink, and the two just couldn't have perfectly matched up, you know. And the trailer is actually on my Instagram. You'll be able to watch it. Where basically, I don't give the whole thing away where they fall over. I save that for the longer film. But in the trailer, what it does, you see them go down, and then it goes to black, and the whole thing just stops. And then he's and then the father of the bride says something to round off his speech, and then it carries on with the music. So yeah, it's clever little things like that that makes, because obviously when I create these trailers, I want to basically do it in the same way that maybe, I don't know, when you go and see a film at a blockbuster, in a cinema or whatever, I want to go and watch more of that, and so it's done in the same similar way. So I don't give too much away, but ultimately it's enough.
I once had when in a Jewish wedding, when they throw the groom up on a sheet.
Yeah.
And the guy was nearly touching the ceiling at 5 meters in the air, and the sheet was actually stitched together. And when he came down at one point, it just ripped, and he hit the deck. And it was really quite shocking, because he stayed down for quite a while, and the band sort of carried on playing, and then slowly stopped. Each instrument slowly stopped, one at a time, and it was so scary. But then when he got up, he didn't just clamber up. He sprung up right, I'm alive, and it was a gift. It was such a cinematic moment. So what you're saying, I can relate to. When you get things that marry up together that you can make a mini story out of with a dip and it's good. It's good. And I think you're a master at it as well.
Oh, thank you. No, I appreciate it. I don't take compliments very well, to be fair. It's just one of those kind of thing. It's just like,
I'm getting that.
They're saying nice words about me. It's really nice. Look, no, I appreciate it. Thank you. It's, as I said, I think I'm a great believer in, you get out what you put in. I think it's, there are people in this business that, rightfully so, they go out, make a little bit of money, and they're happy doing what they're doing. And there are others that, put a lot more creative energy into it, and, be a master of their field, so to speak. So it's, it's nice to be recognised, obviously, with the award and stuff like that through the efforts. And, that was good. Yeah, really.
Can
really
I ask you about the awards? So, as you probably noticed, you were up against some of the best in the world. So, obviously, that must make it even feel like even more of an achievement. So, going forwards, obviously, we've got to strike a good balance and give the people what they want. So, I just wanted to ask your opinion on whether we go full on just British entries, or leave it as it is, or somewhere in the middle.
Oh Christ! You're asking for an opinion. Yeah, I mean, admittedly, there was a lot of winning done from our friends in France, but they, rightfully so. I mean, if they're entered all these categories and they, strawberry. Forgive me, I can't remember their
Wild
names.
Strawberry.
Yeah, the Wild Strawberry. I mean, I had a chat with the guys, so down to earth, really lovely people, and their productions are just something out of this world, and very good for inspiration, definitely, and something I'll be looking into more depth of, trying to incorporate more of that into my work. Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you've got the word the British Wedding Film Festival, it kind of gives the illusion that it is for British. And I maybe it probably swayed more onto the international bit than perhaps on the British side of things. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy. I won an award, so I'm all right. But
I guess going forward, so you're more likely to enter. I mean, we're not going to keep it the same.
Yeah.
We are definitely going to make it more aimed at the British market, but we don't want to cut off the international market as well. So I guess we're aiming for like a sort of a sweet spot where we're pleasing both aspects. So what I'm asking is, we're going to see you next year.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'll be there. 100%. No, it's like I said,
not with another kid, right? This time.
No, definitely not. I think the wife has had enough as well, so it's no, we're done with 3, so we're quite happy. But no, coming back to feedback from the awards. I mean, is always almost inevitable is going to happen with the first one. You're always going to have people say, give feedback and find fault, but equally, a lot of praise. I mean, I praise you guys for even bringing this to the table, because this didn't exist before, and something nice to be, recognised specifically for the videography front. Because there's nothing like it out there. So it's good that you brought us all together, which was nice. And to be honest, even if I didn't win, it was a lovely evening out. As I said to you at the beginning, it was an opportunity to network with other people and just chat camera gear and weddings and putting the worlds to rights about certain topics, which are quite high on the agenda for this year, and and it was nice to be in the same room with so many talented people, as I say. So, yeah.
So just remind us of your 2 truths and a lie, please.
Two truths and a lie. So the 2 truths and the lie was, I was a nightclub DJ before I was a videographer. My wife nearly left me because of my job, and I film using Sony cameras.
So what I've got to think is, if I was making something up, would it be about my wife nearly leaving me? God, do you want to go first, Joss?
Yeah, I'll say that one.
You think that's a lie?
Yeah.
That's true.
I think it's a Sony. I think the Sony's a lie.
No, so I filmed with Sony. I was a nightclub DJ before. So the truth, you both got it wrong. Yeah. And you're both looking at me in amazement. So look, I don't mind being vulnerable.
So hang on. So which is?
So Joss got it right.
I got it right.
Yeah. The truth was the wife nearly left me. Yeah.
No, what's the lie?
Oh, the lie. Oh, shit.
There's no lie in there.
It was all true.
It was all true.
Right, Jeff. We both win. We both win, mate.
It was all true. Point each. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. No,
I did that once. I did that on holiday with the girlfriend and the kids. I was drinking and I completely stuffed it up, and I was like, I think I said 3 lies, and then I didn't know whether to like style it out and like pretend one of them was true or not.
I can't believe I messed up there. Yeah, no, it's all true. It's all true. No, I mean, obviously, I bring that thing about the wife leaving me, because it's it's kind of shaping how things have become now with the business and stuff. Because I think when you're in this game, you can be so involved with what you're doing.
It's addictive.
You brought up a little bit earlier on about when did you leave to do this full time? And doing this gig full time, I said it on the previous podcast as well, so I'll repeat it again. I come up with this theory that, I get to line my own pockets, I get to do my own hours, I get to work less, I'll have more time for this and that and the other. But the truth is, actually, I've been put a lot more hours into this than my 9-to-5 job. And the problem is and the problem with this job is that you can't just leave your desk. This is a part of life. Whereas 9-to-5, you could just go, see you later, and go home. So that's even more. And as I say, it's a nice message to people who are also in this kind of similar boat, not in the same situation, but if they're kind of getting a little bit overwhelmed with what they're doing, is to find other avenues to kind of help you with that, because it's definitely not a nice feeling being in that position. I
mean, I don't really want to probe too much, but what was it? An ultimatum?
Yeah, kind of. It wasn't so much the job in itself; it's just all the kind of stresses and when you've got, and I don't know about you guys, but when you become a wedding videographer, you also become a bit of a people pleaser as well. And especially post-COVID, when we all kind of fell into that thing about doing all these postponements and having so much work to do, I just kind of took it all without getting any help. And obviously that took me away, and I was never present. So
it was a hard time for a lot of people.
It's so easy. It's so easy to fall into that trap to forget who you are, and you're pleasing everybody else. And it's it's making sure that you find that balance. And I know others, obviously videographers, that have fallen a lot harder. Particular one round my way where it took on way too much work for too little money, and basically ended up in a pit. And
no, that's a good message.
It is a very consuming job, isn't it? I agree with you, because I left my job as it was after COVID as well, to go full time, and I could not agree more. I work a lot more, a lot harder. I don't know if I work smarter. I just spend a lot more of me into this. I also feel like I get a lot more out of it. But certainly, as far as family life, I'd be lying, particularly because I do a lot of travel, I do a lot of destination weddings. I'd be lying if I said that it's not something that I speak about with my wife. You know, it's a thing where you gain a lot by being your own boss and being your own creative director. And, you know, but actually, the drawback to this is the constant pressure of running your own business. One, like financially, you just need to be aware of that. And then, emotionally, it's taking a toll, because you're investing so much of you into basically your business for other people, because we're creating work for other people still. It's definitely something to be mindful of. 100%.
And there's that awkward dynamic, isn't there, of you've been away working very, very hard, very late, and being very lonely, and having a lot of travel, and so you get home thinking, God, I can't wait to get home and have a rest. But in her mind, you've been off on a jolly, going to a party, while she's been holding the fort. So that's the dynamic that kills it. That's like, it's awful. It's a killer. It's awful.
Yeah, it's just all about finding. Yeah, well, it's funny enough. She is actually a wedding photographer. She became a wedding photographer post COVID. So, and you know, we do jobs together, which is nice. So, it's all about finding the right balance, I think, and just learn. I'm still learning now, to be fair. I'm obviously very grateful. Yeah, I'm obviously very grateful that you know, she's an amazing woman. She stuck by me, but you know, and we're still here, and third child. So
there's no escape now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure we could talk about this all day long. But it's one of those things. Obviously, just to wrap this up, really, is to obviously be mindful. But I know there's obviously, you know, I'm not the only one out there that's obviously going through this certain part of life. You know, trying to find the right balance.
I'm sure that'll strike a chord with a lot of people. You know, that's one of the things that no one talks about. So that's great that you've brought it up, and that's a great message as well to get out.
No, and it's good to talk about it. You know, it's one of those things that often get missed, and you know, it's not all about, you know, going to fly off to this destination, that destination, and doing all these wonderful weddings.
One of the other guys that we've interviewed was like, use his editors to do this, and you know, and it just got me thinking, like, God, you know, that'd be a nicer lifestyle, wouldn't it? If, you know, when you get back from the shoot and you just give it to someone else, you know, I've never thought of doing it, but you know,
it is a hard thing to do, because admittedly I've done it as well. You know, to help me through post COVID, I think a lot of people have, and sometimes you just have to look at yourself and go, this is not the life that I dreamt of. This is when I gave up my full-time job, I could leave the job up there and come home, enjoy time with the kids and wife and stuff like that. But yeah, it's again, and I'm still trying to find a good. It's getting better, but more of a finer balance. And over time, you kind of refine, obviously, the couples that you do, and the type of weddings that you do. It takes time, but yeah, if anybody is kind of starting out listening to this, then, you know, try not to don't bite off more than you could chew. Especially if you've got wife and kids to kind of look after.
Because Mike, it's been an
thank you, Mike,
pleasure.
for sharing.
Thank you guys for having me on. We'll see you again next year.
Yeah, see you next
can't
year.
wait. Thanks, Mike.
Give yourself the opportunity to come to the after party as well, because I missed out on that last year.
Yeah,
definitely going this year.
I heard there was a karaoke, and And
I can confirm.
yes,
Sorry, I wasn't there. I mean, someone told me.
And
There might be,
and,
there might be
uh,
footage of. Yeah, I know exactly. I was hoping that would go under the radar, but yeah.
I did contemplate it. There was, because I had the premiere in by the train station. I was like, do I go to the after party and just not bother? Just go home, straight when it's all done at 5 a.m. in the morning, or don't know. The body can't cope with it now, so it's next time.
Oh, no,
next
no.
time.
I'll see you next year, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks for
guys.
coming on.
Ciao.